When you see me on Shabbat morning, I'm wearing my talit. If you see me at minyan in prayer, I'm wearing my talit. But I don't wear a talit when I officiate at a wedding. There are rabbis that do. There are rabbis that don't. It's not required. I don't think halakhically it's needed. But I know many rabbis that choose to. One of the stories I heard from one rabbi was that it was the uniform of a rabbi. That's why they wear their talit. And I understood it when he shared with me a story of once when he was at a black tie affair in his simple black tuxedo with a white shirt and a black tie. At the cocktail hour before the ceremony, someone asked him to get them a drink. So he said he wears his talit so people know he's the rabbi. That's what he's there for. I get it. But it still never quite convinced me enough. I just wear an eclectic tie then to stand out from the waitstaff. Because in my mind, it's an item of ritual. It's not a uniform. It's not a costume. So I've never been a fan of those who protest while wearing a talit. Even when I agree with the cause of what it is they're protesting for, whether it's climate change, criminal justice reform, caring for refugees or the homeless, all sorts of important causes. The talit's a ritual item, not a decoration. But all the more so I was disgusted this past week when I saw fellow Jews wearing their talitot standing in the United States Capitol protesting against Israel's right to defend itself. Those that had turned a religious symbol into a costume for the distorted and decidedly un-Jewish protest. Organizations like If Not Now and Jewish Voices for Peace, they miss an important central point of Jewish justice. Now they're right, justice is integral to what it means to be Jewish. We see it in our Parsha this week. God says to Avraham, Al tira Avram, fear not Avram, I'll be a shield to you. The rabbis in the Talmud and the Midrash ask, why is Abraham afraid at this point? Why does God say to him, I'll be a shield to you, I'll protect you? What is he afraid of? And one of the answers from Rabbi Levi says, because our forefather Abraham was fearful, saying, perhaps those people whom I killed, there among them was one righteous man or one God-fearing man. So they say that was Abraham's fear, was one of justice. That even when he had to go to war to defend himself and his nephew, maybe accidentally in the casualties there was an innocent person. And he was afraid of that. He was thinking about those who wished him ill. He was concerned about the welfare of others. It's a central part of Jewish justice. Universalism, whatever someone might tell you, universalism is a central teaching in Judaism. But it's not all that there is. In Bereshit, we get the famous line in our Parsha. Bereshit chapter 12. I will make of you a great nation. I will bless you. I will make your name great. V'hayeh bracha. You shall be a blessing. The Jewish people were intended to be in the world to be a blessing to others. That's all of Judaism. When we talk about things like Tikkun Olam and social justice, those are those texts, those teachings. We are here meant to make the world a better place. But there's the first part of that line, the first part of God's promise, that you will be a nation, that we will exist as Jews, that we have a right to exist as Jews. Judaism isn't universalism or particularism, it's both. You can't have the Tikkun Olam and the universalism without caring for Jewish particularism, caring for the lives of Jews, the well-being of Jews, the well-being of the Jewish homeland. And you can't have Judaism without the universalism. One of those organizations I mentioned at the beginning, If Not Now, gets their title, their name, from a very famous quote from Rabbi Hillel in Pirkei Avot. He would say, Im ein ani li mi li. If I am not for me, who will be for me? Ukshani latzmi ma ani. And if I'm only for myself, what am I? V'im lo akshav imatai. If not now, when? As Jews, we are meant to care for the particular and the universal. And the problem with some organizations and individuals is they've forgotten the first part. Im ein ani li mi li. If I am not for myself, who will be for me? Mili, who will be for me? We've learned time and time again that the answer from others is none is too many. That when we need someone else to be with us as a Jewish people, nobody will be. Too often. We have to be for ourselves. Ukshani le'atzmi ma'ani. If we're only for ourselves, what are we? Judaism isn't just about the particular. But what they get wrong when they take the title of their title from that last line, if not now, when? So it's a question. When? When? When parents and children have been reunited, that's when. That's when we can stand up for justice for others. When all the bodies of those massacred have been buried, that's the time to maybe start talking about the nuances of conflict. When Palestinians and the world around us stop demanding that Jews willing to be martyrs for peace, instead offer us a real partner we can make peace with, not a terrorist organization as a government. Imatai, that's when. When Jews aren't getting attacked around the world because of Israel's policies. When for our religion, we're not lumped in with a government. We're not hated. That's when we can start to talk about justice. When parents don't fear sending their Jewish kids to school, whether it's public or private, a day school or a non-Jewish one. I've heard from parents all across every school we could think of, the fear and the worry right now. And it's real fear and it's real worry. Ematai. If not now, when? When we don't have to fear for our children going to a place they're supposed to learn to thrive. There is time for nuance. There is time for discussions, and there are times for shades of gray. But it's not now. Now isn't when. There was another quote from Rabbi Hillel in Pirkei Avot. Al tifros min hatzibor. Don't separate yourself from the community. The first time in my lifetime I'm told, it's the first time I've seen it myself in my lifetime, but I'm told it was like this after the Yom Kippur War 50 years ago. The Jewish world seemed almost singularly and universally united together, standing together. So now, when we are still grieving together, when we're still crying together, to those Jews that demand justice for others, take a break for a moment. Cry with us. Grieve with us. Now is the time as a community we have to stand together. Now isn't the time to separate ourselves. Now isn't the time to demand that we see the world in shades of gray, even though the world always has shades of gray. Before we can get to those, before we can see shades of gray, we need to know that the world sees black and white. That the world sees a difference between intentionally massacring civilians and the accidental casualties of war. That the world sees black and white, a difference between Israel and Hamas, between good and evil. Until that time comes, we know the world can see that we need to stand together. Jewish universalism can't come without our particularism, without Jews. Throughout history, we've stood with others through the civil rights movement, through suffrage, environmental clauses, rights for LGBTQ people, and more. Jews have always been on the front lines of fighting for justice and equal rights. But right now isn't it a time to see shades of gray. There are still people to be buried. There are still tears that we need to shed together. We still need to lift each other up together as a people. I hope one day all of us really can be united together as a people. But until then, we cannot let those who want to claim that they speak in the name of Judaism do so, because they don't. Who want to put on a talit and pretend that they're speaking on behalf of our people when they don't. They're speaking on behalf of those who wish to destroy us. So until we can stand together, all of us, we need to stand together and make sure the world knows they don't speak for us. They're not our voice. Shabbat shalom.